All right, hey, my friends, and welcome to today's episode where we're going to talk about how to actually manage stress and reduce stress in your life. And so, the whole point of today's episode is really just to really challenge the idea of what we believe stress is, how it's caused, and how we work at it. A lot of people talk about managing stress, and I think a lot of things people do actually is paradoxically ineffective and oftentimes creates more stress. So I want to talk about my perspective on this and how I believe we can work at stress from a much higher plane to really change the way we interact with our environment. So with that said, before we dive in, if you could help us out by liking and subscribing, as well as leaving a nice review on iTunes and Spotify, I would greatly appreciate it. And also, if you're looking for support on your journey to recovery from OCD, anxiety, panic, fear, stress, really anything stress related, please check out the links in the notes or head over to restoredminds.com. And we have some great resources for you to get started there. So let's go ahead and dive in. So let's start with the basic question of what is stress. A lot of people will use this language. Hey, I'm so stressed. I need help managing my stress. We have stress management classes, programs, and all these techniques to reduce stress. And I think there's a big misunderstanding of what stress is because a lot of people believe that stress is environmental. It's something that happens to you. And therefore, what they attempt to do is work on either controlling their state when they feel stressed or suppressing the energy or trying to change their state or changing things in their environment that, quote, they believe create the stress to begin with. And what you have to understand about stress is that it's not even a state you're in or something in your environment. It is merely your perception of an event or thing and your appraisal that thing is bad or not wanted. So you can experience the same exact thing in two totally different contexts and have a stressful reaction to one and a positive reaction to the other. So, I know Dr. David Hawkins talks about this, when he talks about loud music. So if you were getting ready to go out for the night and you start playing your favorite music as you're getting ready and it really puts you into this higher energy state because you're embracing it and going along with the music and dancing and all that stuff, that you don't perceive that music as stressful, you perceive it as positive. But if you're laying in bed and that same song and the decimal point in which it was playing, that same loudness comes on when you're sleeping in bed, you're going to perceive the music as stressful, not because the music is actually a cause of stress, but because your belief that shouldn't be happening when it's happening. You're in a conflict with what is. And that is really the root of all stress. It's our perception that life should be different than the way it is. And so if you understand that's really the cause of stress, and then so when we don't believe life is the way it should be, what happens is we get resistant and we often contract and tighten up, and that's why things like our contracted bodies will start to, again, muscle problems, headaches, blood pressure, right? All these things, that's what so when people are measuring even blood pressure, right, it's hyper can't think of the word right now, but anyways, it's essentially hypertension, right? So tension is stress, right? You get tense when you're stressed. And when you understand all that, what you begin to understand is not working at it from trying to loosen your body, because your body's contracting or these external things you experience are happening because of your belief and perception about something. So the best way that I know to quote unquote manage stress in my life or to handle stress is to start challenging the way in which I'm perceiving it or my narrative, my belief structures about whatever is going on. Because when you start really looking at life, not as life needs to be a certain way for you to be okay, but you actually work on yourself being okay with life how it is, you begin to have a totally different experience in this world. See, most people, they're working at it from the former. They're trying to make the world a certain way. So I need my bank account to have this number in it. I need my house to look like this. I need my spouse to be this. I need, my car to be this. And, if the car's not working the way I want it to, or this isn't happening the way I think it should, their perception is all this stuff is causing them stress. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that there's not actual, like, you cannot be overloaded and taking on way too much than you have the capacity to handle. Absolutely. Energetically, that can be totally true. But then it's your belief of why you need to do that in the first place, or your belief about what's going on in your environment that's causing you to stack everything up the way, is really where I'd work at that from. And when you begin to work at not trying to change life to make yourself feel okay, but you begin to work at feeling okay regardless of what the waves of life are presenting at the certain moment, you change your entire energetic interaction with life. And more importantly, you really see a significant reduction in stress, because you don't work at trying to control something that's out of your control often. You work at changing the very thing that is in your control, which is your belief and your narrative of what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, and everything. And one of the things that I read from Frederick Dotson's book, I believe it was in Reality Creation, or called Reality Creation, was the idea that a lot of what causes stress in our life is we use this language of I have to do something. So we use this language, I have to X, Y, Z. And letting go of that idea and replacing it with something like I get to or I choose to can really change your just overall interaction with life. Because the idea of I have to do something, you can challenge that. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything, right? If you really are honest with yourself, whatever you say you have to do, you really don't. You choose to do something, right? I get to do something, or I choose to do something. And so when you are saying you have to do something, what it's suggesting is you're in the situation where you don't have a choice. So then you perceive it as stressful. So let's use the example last night of my son was crying in the middle of the night. He's 6 months old, and so he wakes up several times throughout the night. And initially I was when I woke up out of my sleep, it's this idea of I have to go and, pick him up and rock him back to sleep and all that stuff. So I perceived it as stressful, right? I perceived it as something that was hard, right? And being able to even understand that I was doing that, and then starting to change my language about it of I get to, meaning I have the wonderful opportunity to be a parent. Like I get that opportunity, and some people don't. And some people never will. Some people may choose not to go that path. Like I chose to go that path, and I get to do this. When I just started changing my narrative of what I am doing, even him crying is not stressful, because it's like, that's what he's a baby. That, of course, babies cry, It's not this thing of I have to, and this shit is happening to me. I didn't try to change the event at all. And ironically, by me coming into the event calmer, he went back to sleep way quicker than when I'm like trying to force him to get to where like not crying so that I feel better. Because I brought my whole energy into that event. And this is where, when you start to work at things in your life, when you're talking about how to manage stress, and you start working from the inward place, in here, in your inner space, your consciousness, your beliefs, your narratives, and the energy you're bringing into something, you start to realize how much you can change your perception of stress and the stress you experience in life much more effectively than if you're trying to make the world be the way you think it needs to be for you to feel okay. So when it comes to managing stress, I very highly encourage you to consider and start implementing, the tools in which you're changing your consciousness, your state of being, your beliefs, all the stuff that's going on, and often that you're unaware of, that you're bringing into your environment, as opposed to trying to change your environment, because it will be a much more effective process for you. And if you're looking for help with that, that's exactly what we run through in Taking Back Control. And so you can head over to Restored Minds and fill out an application if that's something you align with. Or like I said, we have some resources down in the notes that you can take advantage of as well that are free. With the book being very, very low cost if you're interested in that as well. So with that, I hope this was helpful for you. I hope it served you. Take this into your week and start implementing it. And with that, I wish you a great week and a great day. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Hey there. So if you enjoyed that video, we've linked up a few more videos that we think you'd find helpful as well. And if you have found this helpful, we'd really appreciate your support by liking and subscribing. And if you're looking for help and guidance, please check out restoredminds.com as we have several options for you to get started. See you guys soon.